When I first moved into my new house in suburban California, I genuinely thought I had escaped the chaos of city life. My old apartment had paper-thin walls, a neighbor who ran his leaf blower at 2 a.m., and a mysterious raccoon that had somehow claimed squatters' rights on my balcony. I was ready for peace. Serenity. Maybe even a bird feeder. The house I bought was an old one, charming in that still has a mail slot kind of way. It sat on a decent chunk of land, nestled between two other homes. One side was empty, rented out to some traveling nurses, apparently. The other side? Well, that's where I met her. Karen. HOA Karen. She showed up before I had even finished moving in. I was literally carrying in a microwave when I heard a cough behind me. I turned around and there she was, mid-40s, bob haircut sharp enough to slice a watermelon, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown, holding a clipboard and a pen like weapons. She looked me up and down like I'd just tracked mud across her soul. "Hi," she said, in that painfully polite tone that somehow felt like an insult. "I'm HOA. But most people just call me Karen." Of course they do. She didn't offer to help, didn't smile. She just launched straight into it. "I'm the unofficial HOA rep for this block. We like to keep things orderly around here." Unofficial? Is that even a thing? She pointed at the weeds in my front yard. "Those will need to go. And your moving truck is partially blocking my driveway. That's going to be an issue if I need to leave in an emergency." I nodded, forcing a tight smile. "Nice to meet you too." I figured maybe she was just a little, type A. Everyone has a quirky neighbor, right? But no. Karen wasn't quirky. Karen was a full-blown villain origin story in yoga pants. Later that day, she slid a typed note under my door with neighborhood guidelines. It wasn't from the city, or the county. It was clearly made in Microsoft Word. There were fonts. Colors. A watermark of an eagle. Rule number 7 was my favorite: all porch lights must be LED and emit a soft white glow. Harsh yellow light is discouraged due to its effect on neighboring property value and nocturnal wildlife. Seriously? That night, I installed a floodlight just for her. The next morning, I woke up to find a note taped to my mailbox. The envelope was cream-colored with a gold sticker seal, like it was an invitation to a wedding, except inside was a single sheet of paper that said, in bold Comic Sans, "Light pollution is a form of aggression." Beneath that, in tiny print, "Please be considerate of your neighbors." The floodlight installed last night exceeded 600 lumens and was pointed directly at my meditation corner. Meditation corner? I looked around my yard, completely baffled. That light wasn't even close to her house. Unless she meditates in a bush between our driveways, she was reaching. But I let it go. It was day 2. I wasn't going to start a suburban war just yet. Then came the garbage can incident. On Thursdays, the city truck comes by around 7 a.m. I'd rolled my can to the curb the night before like any normal person. Apparently, I did it too early. At exactly 6:47 a.m., I heard it. The unmistakable sound of a plastic trash bin being dragged backward. I peeked through my blinds and there she was, Karen, in a full bathrobe and Crocs, hauling my trash can back up my driveway like she was rescuing it from a crime scene. I rushed outside. "Hey, what are you doing?" She didn't even look at me. City code says trash should not be curbside before 6 a.m. You put it out at 9:30 last night. That's nearly 9 hours too early. I blinked. That's not even remotely enforceable. She snapped her fingers. Neighborhood standards. I didn't want to argue, but I couldn't stop myself. "You know this isn't an HOA, right? You don't actually have authority over anything." She finally looked at me, like really looked, and gave me this chilling little smirk. "I have influence," she said. "That's more important." And then she walked away like a Bond villain, leaving me standing there in my socks, holding a trash can and questioning my life choices. That night, I Googled her. Turns out, she'd tried to start an official HOA 3 times in 5 years. All failed. She also had a petition on change.org to ban inflatable holiday decorations. It had 2 signatures. One was hers. The other was her cat's. But the weirdest part? There was a real estate blog post from 2 years ago where she commented publicly, complaining that she almost bought my house but lost it in a bidding war. Suddenly, it made sense. She didn't hate me. She hated that I won. After the trash can incident, I tried to stay cool. You know, don't feed the troll and all that. But Karen didn't need food, she thrived on drama the way plants need sunlight. One morning I came out to find that my mailbox had been decorated. Not vandalized. Decorated. There was a tiny fake bird glued to the top, a laminated flyer zip-tied to the post that read, "Mailbox too modern? Try rustic charm. Neighbors appreciate cohesion." I stared at it for a solid minute, unsure if I was dreaming or being hazed. She was sitting on her porch, of course. Drinking tea out of a mug that said "Boss Lady." When she caught me looking, she waved like we were old friends. I didn't wave back. That afternoon, I came home to find a yellow parking ticket on my own driveway. It looked official until I saw that it was handwritten in Sharpie. Violation, parking outside of alignment with neighborhood flow. Fine, 1 apology and realignment. I honestly laughed. Out loud. Karen was making up traffic laws. On private property. That's when I realized she wasn't just annoying. She was playing a psychological game. She didn't want to call the cops. That would make her look petty. No, Karen was smarter than that. She wanted me to snap first. To look like the problem. But I didn't take the bait. Not yet. Instead, I started keeping a journal. Every weird thing she did, I wrote it down. Dated it. Labeled it. It began as a joke, but the entries piled up fast. April 9th, Karen asked if I'd consider painting my house a more muted tone. April 12th, found a copy of Better Homes and Gardens in my mailbox with dog-eared pages. April 14th, she knocked to remind me that front lawns should be no taller than 2.5 inches. Mine was 2.75. She brought a ruler. I started calling her the clipboard queen in my notes. Then came the day she escalated to sound complaints. I got a letter, yes, a physical letter, accusing me of disturbing the ecosystem by playing my music too loud. It was a Spotify jazz playlist at volume 4. It was mostly saxophones and vibraphones. Not exactly death metal. She claimed it was causing her koi fish to experience spiritual distress. At that point, I did what any sane person would do. I installed a security camera. Not to spy on her. But to protect myself. Because something told me, this was just the beginning. The first night I had the camera up, I didn't expect anything. Honestly, I installed it more for peace of mind than actual evidence. But when I checked the footage the next morning, well, guess who wandered into my yard at 2:13 a.m.? Karen. In a nightgown. With a flashlight. And garden shears. She tiptoed around my front bushes, snipped a few leaves, then walked back to her property like she was in a spy movie. No rush. No guilt. Just another midnight pruning session of plants that weren't hers. At first, I thought, okay, maybe she's just weirdly into landscaping. But then I noticed the small sign in my flower bed was gone. It had my house number on it, custom made, nothing fancy. Just a little wooden plaque I bought on Etsy. Vanished. I checked the next camera angle. Sure enough, she took it. She took my sign. That's when something snapped in me. Not anger, exactly. Just this, deep need to no longer be a bystander in my own life. So I printed out a still image from the footage, Karen, mid-prune, eyes wide like a deer in headlights. I taped it to my front door with the caption, "Caught in the act. Smile for the next one." I didn't even have to wait an hour. Bang bang bang. She was at my door. Lipstick perfect. Hair immaculate. Clipboard in hand like a sword. "You have a camera pointed at my yard," she barked. "Nope," I said, opening the door just enough to let her know I wasn't scared. "It's pointed at my yard. You just happen to be in it." She tried to argue, to twist it into some violation of privacy, but I wasn't having it. "Karen," I said, calm as I could manage, "you're trespassing. At night. With tools. You stole something. That's not a privacy issue. That's a felony." Her face turned a very specific shade of red. The kind you only see when someone's not used to being challenged. "You don't understand how things work around here," she snapped. "Oh, I think I do now," I replied. "I also understand how cloud storage works. So even if you take the camera, guess what? The footage still exists." She blinked. I closed the door in her face. Later that evening, I got an email from someone named Dwight McKenzie, apparently the head of the Neighborhood Aesthetic Preservation Committee. Which, spoiler alert, doesn't exist. The email accused me of aggressive surveillance and non-compliant yard signage. It was signed, in Comic Sans again, with, "On behalf of the block, D. McKenzie, and concerned residents." I reverse image searched the signature logo at the bottom. It was a stock image of a gavel. She really made up a whole fake committee. That's when I realized, Karen wasn't just annoying. She was waging a Cold War. After the fake petition, the midnight photo sessions, and the nonsense with code enforcement, I knew I had to flip the dynamic. So I called my cousin Ben. Ben is a licensed surveyor, built like a refrigerator, and has zero patience for people like Karen. He showed up in a neon vest, with a tripod, laser levels, and a drone. I didn't even warn Karen. I just let Ben go to work. Full gear. Measuring tape. Pounding bright orange flags into the dirt every 6 feet. I sat on my porch with an iced coffee, watching Karen peek through her blinds like a nosy cartoon villain. After about 20 minutes, she stormed out in her robe and fuzzy slippers. "What's going on?" she demanded. Ben didn't even look up. "Property line survey. Legal. County approved. Want a copy when we're done?" She scoffed. "I don't need a copy. I know where the line is." Ben smiled. "Cool. Then this'll just confirm it." She stood there for a beat. Then turned to me. "This is harassment," she hissed. I took a slow sip of my coffee. "Nah. This is documentation." The best part? When Ben finished, we found something interesting. A full 3-foot strip of land between our driveways, technically mine, that she'd been using for years. Her garden hose ran across it. Her stepping stones cut right through it. Even her decorative gnome was standing on it, smug as hell. Ben handed me a copy of the map. "There you go, cousin. Clear as day." Karen turned gray. Like she'd seen a ghost. I could almost hear the gears turning in her head. She'd spent weeks trying to bully me with made-up rules, and now here I was, legally armed, with receipts. That night, I hosted a property line party. I invited neighbors. Grilled hot dogs. Played light jazz. Hung a cute little sign that read, now clearly marked, "Welcome to MY Lawn." Karen watched from her window the entire time, arms crossed, lips so tight they could cut glass. But she didn't say a word. For the first time since I moved in, she was silent. It felt good. No, it felt glorious. But I knew her too well by now. Karen wasn't defeated. She was regrouping. It started small, as it always does. A tipped-over trash bin. A weird, sour smell near my mailbox. A slice of ham, just one, placed neatly on my front step like some kind of passive-aggressive peace offering from a deli. Then came the email. From a burner Gmail account, neighborhoodtruthreporter@gmail.com. The subject line? Your reputation is in question. Inside was a single line of text. Some people don't belong in this community. Soon, others will see it too. Creepy? Sure. But I'd dealt with Karen's digital alter egos before. This felt different though, more calculated. Less Comic Sans, more Cold War propaganda. The next morning, a neighbor I barely knew, Tom, from 2 houses down, stopped me while I was walking to my car. He looked uncomfortable. Hey, I hate to even bring this up, but, did you really yell at Karen's niece? What? He rubbed the back of his neck. She told a few people you screamed at a little girl who rang your doorbell. Said she was just selling cookies. I stood there, stunned. I don't even think she has a niece. He nodded awkwardly. Yeah, I figured. Just wanted to give you a heads up. It hit me then. Karen was planting rumors. Whispers. Half-truths. Straight-up lies. She wasn't trying to win anymore. She was trying to poison the well. Slowly. Quietly. So that when she finally made her move, I'd be the villain in everyone's eyes. But she made one mistake. She messed with the wrong introvert. Because while Karen was whispering in shadows, I was collecting light. Screenshots. Video. Eyewitness statements. Even the city survey. Everything. And then, one night, my camera caught the final piece I needed. At 3:22 a.m., Karen walked across our shared lawn, hood up, flashlight off. She knelt down by my AC unit, took out a bottle, and poured something directly into the vents. My heart dropped. I called Ben again, and he came over with gloves and a respirator. We opened the grate. Cat urine. She literally poured feral cat pee into my ventilation system. Why? I still don't know. Maybe to make the house smell. Maybe to make me think something died in the walls. Maybe just because she's certifiably unhinged. But that was it. The final straw. I made a decision. No more waiting. No more silent treatment. No more being the polite new guy on the block. Karen wanted war. She was about to find out what happens when you push the quiet neighbor too far. It happened on a Sunday. Our neighborhood association, yes, the real one, not the fake Dwight Mackenzie Club, held a quarterly meeting at the local community center. I'd never attended before. Karen, of course, was always there. Clipboard. Cardigan. That tight-lipped, head-nodding smile. But this time, I came prepared. I walked in with a laptop, a printed packet of evidence, and a little flash drive labeled Karen Files, Volume 1. She saw me and smirked. She probably thought I was going to apologize. Make peace. Fold like everyone else eventually did. She didn't know I had footage of her with cat urine and a screwdriver. As the meeting started, they opened the floor for community concerns. Karen raised her hand immediately. She launched into her usual nonsense. This neighborhood used to be peaceful. Certain individuals have disrupted the harmony. There are safety issues now. Cameras. Bright lights. Strange smells. That last part was ironic. And then, with full drama, she looked straight at me and said, "Some people just don't belong here." The room went quiet. I stood up. Calm. Collected. Not angry, just ready. Actually, I said, I've been keeping some records. Since my very first week here. I plugged in the flash drive. What followed was a 6-minute slideshow. Nothing fancy. Just time-stamped clips. Karen trespassing at 2 a.m. Karen stealing a lawn sign. Karen fabricating a fake HOA letter. Karen dumping liquid into my AC. The petition, signed by her dog. Gasps. Awkward coughs. One guy actually whispered, "Oh damn." I ended the presentation with a copy of the land survey, showing the 3-foot strip she'd been squatting on for years. Karen turned pale. "I didn't want to do this," I said, genuinely. "But I think the community deserves to see the whole picture." Silence. The HOA president, a retired fireman named Gene, rubbed his temples and said, "Jesus, Karen. What were you thinking?" She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I handed copies of the evidence to the board, thanked them for their time, and walked out. No mic drop, no dramatic exit, just quiet, clean closure. When I got home, something unbelievable had happened. Karen's garden gnome was gone. Her hose? Moved. The stepping stones? Removed. For the first time since I moved in, her yard didn't spill into mine. She didn't speak to me for the rest of the week. Or the next. No emails. No flyers. No fake threats. Nothing. And the kicker? Neighbors started waving to me. One brought cookies. Another asked if I'd like to help with the fall barbecue. Suddenly, I wasn't the new guy. I was the guy who finally stood up to Karen. It had been almost a month since the neighborhood meeting. Things had calmed down. Karen kept to herself. I kept to myself. No more rumors. No more sabotage. I'd won. Or so I thought. One evening, as I was heading out to grab some groceries, I saw Karen standing at the edge of my property, staring at the tree line between our yards. Her arms were crossed, her expression unreadable. I slowed down, wondering if she was finally going to apologize or pull one of her usual "I'm the victim" acts. She didn't say anything at first. Just stood there. Then, she turned and walked over to me. No clipboard. No fake letter. Just, "Karen. I have something to tell you," she said, her voice uncharacteristically calm. I raised an eyebrow. "Yeah? What's that?" "You know how I've been, difficult." She hesitated. "I'm sorry for some of the things I did." I waited. Was this a trick? Was she playing me again? I wasn't about to fall for another round of her manipulative nonsense. "I know I've been hard to live next to," she continued. "And I understand why you did what you did with the cameras, the survey, all of it. I get it." I was out of line. I blinked. "Wait, what?" "I admit it," she said. "I'm not perfect. But I never meant to make things so complicated." I stood there, speechless, trying to process her words. Could it be possible? Could Karen, the queen of petty revenge, actually be apologizing? Before I could respond, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small, old key, not attached to any keychain. She handed it to me. "This is the key to the shed out back," she said, her eyes downcast. "I've been keeping it for years, but I think it's time you have it. It's your property, after all." I looked at the key. A shed key? What was she talking about? "I'm not the owner of that shed," I said, confused. Karen nodded slowly. "I know. But it's on your land. It's always been on your land. I've been holding on to it because I didn't want you to find out." Now, I was completely lost. I stared at the key in my hand, wondering if this was some kind of late-game mind trick. But I also knew one thing: Karen didn't just apologize. She'd just admitted to something huge. I turned the key over in my hand, suddenly very curious. The next day, I walked to the back of my yard, just beyond the tree line. There, tucked behind a patch of dense ivy, was an old wooden shed, hidden away. My shed. I unlocked it, and inside, I found something truly shocking. Old documents. Boxes of pictures. Blueprints. The original plans for the house I now lived in. And the shed? It was once part of the original property line when the lot was sold in the 1940s. It was always meant to be part of my property. But Karen knew this. She'd known it from the start. She'd been controlling this little secret to maintain leverage. I went back inside, sat at my desk, and stared at the documents. For the first time, I realized Karen's vendetta wasn't about the cameras. It wasn't even about the driveway or the property line. She just couldn't let go of her control. She'd been pulling strings behind the scenes, trying to manage what she thought was her neighborhood. Now, she was done. And so was I. I could finally breathe easy. Karen had played her last card. And in the end, I'd come out on top.